Good morning and welcome to Frank's School, 87th day of the 7th year, first video. Protests. Yesterday, or the last video, I said that there were two subjects I wanted to deal with, the protesting and this dry spell we have. Well, let me take up protesting first. Are we coming into a new age of protesting? I wonder. Now, last Friday, I went into the center of Bedford to the courthouse, and I sat on the courthouse steps. And there I braided bright yellow plastic unrecyclable baler twine. An odd thing to do. But I didn't have a sign. I'm not much of a protester. I didn't have a sign. People might have thought that's odd behavior, but it really didn't get that much attention. I had hoped that there would be, or at least imagined that there would be others there, my age, but also some children, which his school strike was the big news. But I was the only one there, and I stayed there for about an hour, and it was okay. It was kind of pleasant in a way, and I plan to go back, but at least this Friday. But I wanted to say that about protesting in general. Could this be a new age of it? There's the yellow vest protesting going on in France, and as I understand it, it's the complaint there has to do with work hours, money, income, fair pay and stuff, money in one way or another, as I understand it. The Hong Kong protests, they're a little harder to explain. Now, I just had visitors here from Hong Kong. A very well-educated surgeon was here for a month, and we had time to talk about it. I don't think he completely understands it either. But they seem to be young people. They are very angry. And it seems to me it's about freedom in Hong Kong. But there's got to be a lot of discontent before people actually start to protest. Now, the biggest news of the week was the protests against what's happening to the climate. And I wrote down Fridays for Future. That would be a site that you could go to. It's set aside Fridays as the day to protest. And Greta Thunberg, people are having trouble deciding how to pronounce her name. She largely called for these protests, school strikes on Friday. But it's actually it's bigger than just that. I'll come back to that, I think. But I want to say my own history as a protester. I'm not much of a protester. I graduated from college in 1968, and if you know anything about history, there was an age of protesting, the late 60s, leading right up to the Kent State shootings. I mean, and it was worldwide. It wasn't just in the United States. In Paris, for example, in 1968. And I walked by it all the time. SDS, Students for Democratic Society, I think. There was tremendous protesting, and so much of it had to do with Vietnam. Well, I did not participate in the protesting. And my reason, a lot of it was because although I saw that they were against things, and rightly so, I thought, I didn't understand what they were for. I didn't see alternatives being offered at the time, and that's I'll say more about that later on this week in another video, I think. But in any case, I finally did though protest when it came time to graduate against the war in Vietnam. I was one of a list of the Harvard graduates. I don't know if there were 200 of us, more than 100, I think, who signed our name on a list, said we will not go to Vietnam. We will go to jail or we will go to Canada. We will not go to Vietnam. And we wore armbands as we marched through the graduation ceremonies and stuff. Then our names were published in the Boston Globe, and I assumed that at that point probably an FBI file was started on me. I kind of assumed that they they were watching me because of that. I don't know. But let's see. I was going to say something. No, I can't remember now. Now, what if these two have already turned violent? What if this protest turns violent? When you've got millions of kids that decide that the peaceful protesting is not doing it. What if they go violent? There hasn't been much talk about that yet, and I think the whole world, in a way, is watching. Well, I'm smiling because I think, except for Trump, is watching the UN and what's going on this very week. It's a reason why I'm going to wait now and until, say, Thursday before I speak again about these protests. But anyway, what if they go violent? I don't know. Well, finally here, I'm a decentralist, and that's one of the reasons it goes against the grain for me to protest. To go into a center somewhere, to be part of some centralized protest, that just goes against the grain with me, because it's like my way of protesting would be to leave it and go away and abandon it. And I've suggested maybe that children could use a Pied Piper to lead them away instead of into a center, because centralization, I think, is a good bit of the problem with the climate. I'm also a degrower, though, and the idea of a 4-day week, this Fridays for Future, that's actually a little independent. It is independent from the school strike. In principle, degrowers think that there is too much production, not too little, and a 4-day week would be a start in the right direction to actually lower gross national products, to lower productivity. All right, this may have been a little bit random, but I'm going to leave it for now.